Hi, my name is Sean, and I'm a faculty member at CCV, and I'd like to talk to you today about why and how we should all use the final paper evaluation rubric throughout CCV's entire writing sequence. First, let's talk about what CCV's writing sequence is. The writing sequence is a progression of writing courses, beginning with English composition, moving to the research and writing intensive courses such as English Composition 2, Introduction to Literature, Global Issues in the Media, Introduction to Research Methods, and Technical Writing and Research, and finishing with Seminar and Educational Inquiry. So what's the final evaluation rubric? The final paper evaluation rubric is a single rubric that reflects the goals of CCV across the levels of the writing sequence. Why should we use one rubric for 3 different levels of writing? In response to inadequate preparation measured in writing students entering CCV's capstone course, Seminar and Educational Inquiry, a new research writing rubric was developed for that class. The rubric was then applied to the evaluation of research writing in the R and WI courses, and now it will be used in English composition as well. The goal is to strengthen our students' research writing skills throughout the entire writing sequence by harmonizing expectations for research writing, which is critical to our students' success after leaving CCV. From a faculty point of view, the rubric gives us the opportunity to not only fairly assess these skills, but to use the rubric throughout our students' writing career at CCV gives them a chance to acclimatize themselves with a common set of expectations. Writing faculty also come to understand CCV's expectations for student performance. Looking at it from a student point of view, students may understand that the requirements for research writing early in their CCV writing careers will be consistent no matter which class they take. By seeing the same rubric over several courses, students begin to internalize the research writing process, allowing them to focus more deeply on the content. So let's take a look at the final paper evaluation rubric. The rubric has 10 areas of evaluation. Each area is scored on a scale of 1 to 5 points. Each point of an evaluation area has a narrative explanation. The total value of the paper is 50 points. A score of 35, which is a C-, is required for the paper to be considered passing. Here's a detailed look at the first area of evaluation. Do you see evidence of a thesis? This question is asked by the faculty member when evaluating a research paper. We can see that there are several levels of narrative evaluation here, which allows the faculty to pinpoint where the student is scoring well in the paper. For example, 5 points is the answer to yes, there's a strong arguable thesis that's clear, engaging, and appropriate for the subject. The writer addresses all aspects of the thesis fully. Now we can see 1 point, maybe, but it is not consistent and many ideas in the paper are not connected to it. Or no points. There is no identifiable thesis. This gives our faculty members a wide range of options when evaluating papers, and it allows them to give really useful feedback to students. Other areas addressed by the rubric include a sense of purpose, idea handling, examples, detail, and support, the audience, organization, fluency, grammatical skills, information literacy skills, and appropriate citation. A comparison of the essential objectives addressing research writing across the sequence reveals opportunities for a harmonized rubric in the form of the final paper evaluation rubric to succeed in bringing CCV students to a consistent and high level of research writing. Addressing these points early in a student's writing journey at CCV accomplishes several things. First, student expectations. Students learn and become familiar with expectations of the rubric, allowing them to focus on what's really important, strengthening their writing. Learning outcomes. With a universal rubric, we can point to specific learning outcomes achieved by our students. These outcomes satisfy the general education requirements, as well as the program outcomes for students. coordination with faculty. Since our faculty is spread out across the state, we really need a universal documentation tool. The final paper evaluation rubric relieves faculty from ambiguity regarding expectations throughout the sequence, and it produces students with consistent skills, no matter which faculty teaches which class. Fluid transition. Students can take English composition on the ground in one academic center, then take a research and writing intensive class online, and finish with a hybrid seminar and educational inquiry class, secure in the knowledge that each class will evaluate research writing consistently. The following slides highlight the essential objective points in several of the classes across the writing sequence that are addressed by the final paper evaluation rubric. Here are some essential objectives from English composition that are addressed by the rubric itself. We can see the specific points of the rubric that are matched up to these specific essential objectives. And the same is here for the research and writing intensive classes. Different points of the rubric match up with different areas of essential objectives, and as well as SEI. So how should I use the final paper evaluation rubric in my English composition class? It's a good idea to introduce the rubric the first night of class and explain its importance within CCV's writing sequence. Use the rubric as a teaching tool to help students understand the research and writing process. Teachers usually assign an argument paper in English composition, and that's the ideal location to implement the rubric. Remember that the research component in English composition is not a high-stakes item. In the research and writing intensive classes and SEI class, the research paper is a high-stakes paper, meaning that students must earn a 70% or higher in order to receive credit for the class. Designing activities around aspects of the rubric, especially emphasizing the thesis, is a great tool. Many students hesitate to argue a position, rendering their paper informational. Focusing on the thesis throughout the process will result in stronger final papers. Use the rubric to give point-by-point, detailed feedback on the rough draft so the student has enough time to revise effectively. Some best practices, including the introduction of the rubric at the beginning of the semester. Make it part of a course packet that explains its role in the class. Review the rubric on the first night of class and explain to students how, where, and when it'll be used. Refer to the rubric during the semester to connect its points to teaching the research and writing process. Use the rubric to provide detailed point-by-point feedback to students on the rough draft of their papers. Use the rubric to generate an actual score for both the rough draft and the final draft of student papers.